Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Betty's Parish, titled the Palm Springs Demo. And if we switch over to here, this is a project I am getting the opportunity to listen to before it comes out, or rather it has been released as of October the 29th, the time I'm reviewing this. It's just that it's going to be part of a bigger recording project apparently, which is really cool. I wish them the best of luck with that, but we're going to check out this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Just put the art for the band up there, Betty's Parish with Palm Springs. Let's go, let's do it.
Asleep here in your bathtub. I know, yeah, I know I can fix it with a prescription. Sold out, all out of my very best intentions.
It sounds like the kick is quite a bit pushed, but aside from that, everything else is sounding nice and clear.
Girl lost in the desert, haven't lost her credit. Somewhere in the middle of a dust storm. I know, yeah, I know there ain't nothing left up in heaven. Sold out, all out of our very best intentions.
I like the shift to this kind of, a lot of uncertainty with this guitar riff here with the bass and drums.
Will you buy me a present? Something that says that I'm important. I'm living under record of irrational affectation. I know, yeah, I know there ain't nothing left worth getting. Sold out, all out of my very best intention. I'm not for sale like that, I'm not for sale like that, no. You're not for sale like that, you're not for sale like that, no. We aren't for sale like that, we're not for sale like that, no. We aren't for sale, we're not for sale.
Great vocal fry there.
What the hell were you thinking? Why the hell did you break all my records? I can't count when you're screaming. I forget why I'm here in the first place. I know, there ain't nothing left here to fight for. Sold out, all out, white lies and propaganda. We're not for sale, we're not for sale, we're not for sale, we're not for sale. Give them all your money so you can be somebody, yeah. Give me all your money, I'll set you free.
I think that was a really interesting track. I just want to listen through the first part of it my own time, just to sort of iterate the first verse to kind of make sure I kind of get that part handled, and then we'll talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Betty's Parish, titled Palm Springs. Now, what do I think this track is about? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I had to listen through it. I haven't anchored myself in a specific fundamental understanding of it. my idea of when we talk about like there's nothing left in heaven, I can fix it with a prescription, etc., sold out. Why'd you like we're talking to the person as well, like why do you have to make these decisions, etc. We're kind of wondering why we interacted with each other the way we did. You get the feeling that maybe this is maybe talking about like a social climate thing, or just a situation where like they know they could fix it, but like what's the point of fixing the issue, because it's not like the trouble will go away if they take their medication, that they don't necessarily feel like anything's going to get better and they're just kind of pissed off and angry about it. There's more to it. There's more nuance than that, but that's what I got on an initial first impression. And like there were lines like falling asleep in the bathtub. And I mean, I think a lot of people can kind of relate to the feeling of just kind of hopelessness and just how tricky life can be and how it can make you feel. And I think if I had a few more goes through this just to kind of process it, I think that'd be good. There were some parts like in the interlude section near the end where I didn't get all the words through clearly, so it was difficult for me to really comment on that. But I think that nonetheless, enjoyed my time with this track. I thought that it was well sung by the singer. Lady could really, her pipes are fantastic, great on the mic, very confident, very easy to listen to. Great bit of vocal fry in those heavier sections with the distorted guitar. Very comfortable in the mid-range of the mix, and her just voice and mixed voice potentially. Great attitude and sort of energy behind it. We sold the lyrics, very authentic performance, and we hit the notes really cleanly. The track at 3 minutes 40 is split up with a range of different riffs and different textures. We build an intensity as we go, starting with some cleaner guitars with some delayed chains on them, with the bass underneath, and just the kicks. The kicks are so aggressive in this track, and I think not in a way where it's like too over the top. Initially, I was like, oh, those kicks too loud. But I think maybe we just wanted to sort of pulse and have that kind of pseudo sidechained effect to it. But the drum kits, like with the different cymbal kick and snare patterns, especially when the kicks are sort of just more of the focal point in regards to percussive sector of things, I suppose. They have a great sense of groove to it. And I like the fact that we kind of split off from having a more of a static kind of chord note accent to work some buzz rolls and other bits when we go do da do da do da do da. We kind of have a sense of rhythmic unison with what the guitar's doing. And I think the drummer is aware of how we need to play stuff and perform and what roles we need to take at different parts. It's a very clear understanding of the instrument, so I'm happy with the percussion in that regard. I think that the way that the bass is played there, it's got a huge tone to it, man. It's just such a massive sound in the mix, and it's very comfortable in that lower register. There are some parts later on where things get a bit heavier, where we explore more of the mid-range of the fretboard, and I think that's welcome because it's just a bit more variation within the actual arrangement itself. We didn't have any other sort of dominant vocal leads apart from the vocals, and it was the main sort of melodic lead, should I say, rather than the vocals. And I don't think we necessarily needed it in a track that's 3 minutes 40. Having different verse sections and interlude and chorus sections and having changes in the way the instruments sound as well as how they're played. Like, it's not like we didn't have different melodies or harmonies. Actually, we had several bass lines, but we had enough variety with the guitar parts, like we played, we strummed in certain parts there with this bum, 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 bum. And we had like more kind of arpeggiated, picky parts there going between chords that sometimes ended on a minor, sometimes they ended on a bit of a kind of a more sort of tenuous sort of chord. Sometimes they were majorish, and it almost sort of became a bit melancholic to an extent. But I like the fact that we had that exploration of the guitar, even if, again, it wasn't a lead instrument. I liked the fuzziness of the guitar in the heavier sections later on. I think that it was just so over the top that it worked sort of solidify the purpose of that really kind of heavy kick tone in there. Things were still kind of raucous in that regard. It was very punk. It was very intense and in your face there, and it was not trying to be a clean, well-behaved mix. But I think the choices we made for the different riffs, the bass lines, and how they sort of adapted underneath, the way that the singer was just comfortably above most of that in the frequency spectrum, so they had great presence in the mix. And in an arrangement, I feel as if all these different combinations that they combined in a way which was just incredibly effective. And just there was no filler. The vocals came in immediately. You instantly had a sort of a taste of what was to come. And it was a really convincing first impression of this project. And I just feel like the theme overall, I think a lot of the expression or the intensity, the energy was by the tone of the instruments. We had a sort of a curious sort of, I don't even know I'd say bittersweet. I'm not sure what mood we were going for. Like, it was a minor key for a lot of, not most of it, where there were some major resolutions where I think that was maybe to sort of make it sparkle a little bit, but it didn't sound like a happy song, but it didn't really commit to the bit. Like there weren't, the harsh textures came from, again, the fuzziness of the guitar, the sort of raucous, the brutal distortion there. But it was a feisty song that I think a lot of the energy, again, came from the vocal performance. And the different chord progressions and bass lines we had there just transferred effortlessly. There was one part as well, we had like 3 of the arpeggiated guitar riff, and then we went back into a verse, which was kind of unpredictable because we usually have 4 of those and then move on, or 2 of them. I like the fact that we're playing with listeners' expectations. Yeah, I'm undecided on the theme, but we understand the fundamentals of music theory and composition. There weren't any situations where I was like, why is that chord being used? Why is that note being used? Again, it was more kind of curiosity piqued by great sounding music, and I enjoyed my time with it. Even if I'm still not entirely sure what it's about. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering, I feel like for a demo, it's really good. There are some things where like I feel like, oh, that's a little bit loud in the mix, or we could have potentially had more compression on the vocals to help sort of keep that consistency in parts like the interlude, or we could have potentially looked into some of the resonant frequencies in the low end or something like that and kind of maybe like did a notch cut with them. But ultimately, it's a really, again, a fantastic first impression. You can tell what's going on. I even think in certain situations, having too clean of a mix can be a detriment because it makes it sound a little bit too pretty for what the music might be about. And so I feel like you got the full tone of the full body of the singer in this. You got the guitar, especially when it went to that sort of tough. It was just brutal. It was visceral. It was so cool, man. And again, the bass tone, yeah, it kind of reminded me of really like Muse from the early 2000s, and that kind of sense to some of those really kind of abrasive tones, but how they still sounded melodious and cool, you know. And I feel like, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what else they put out. But I feel like, again, this is a really fantastic start. There was dynamic range to this a bit, but it was also a very loud mix. They were really trying to push this and get a lot of heat behind it. And I think, again, the fact that we had natural dynamic range in the sense that it was more sort of oriented around the layering of the instruments and the different sounds and stuff like that, I think that was a smart move. If you want to keep a glued mix, it can be good to change the loudness with those sounds. And usually if it gets more intense, it gets louder, etc., or more kind of, you know, chaotic, it gets louder. That's often a good way to go. So we had that here. I mean, effectively, this is my review of this track from an act named Betty's Parish, titled Palm Springs. I got no real complaints about it. It's just little nitpicks like the leveling stuff. And before I go, the singer didn't need any help in post-production. They could just clearly sing. They had great vocal technique as well. Just noting that as well, just sometimes. But yeah, no, basically, that's my review of this track titled Palm Springs, that from the act named Betty's Parish, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show us some love via the various social medias and the SoundCloud page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.